Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. In today's video, we discuss the top 10 things you should know before playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'll break down everything from combat, stealth, new mechanics, interesting puzzles, stories, and exploration to everything in between. With a lot of highs, there are some lows. By the end of this video, you're going to learn what to expect when you first play the game and or whether it's even for you. There are timestamps below if you wish to skip ahead, but you shouldn't, so hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and let's begin. We're going to start with an overview of the game. So before we get into this is kind of heavy cinematics. So if you like cinematic gameplay, similar to a recent game like Star Wars Outlaws, then this game is probably going to be interesting for you. Developed by Machine Games and published by Bethesda, The Great Circle captures the essence of Indiana Jones with the gameplay that combines exploration, combat, stealth, and good old-fashioned puzzle solving. The game centers around the main character Indiana Jones as you're thrown into a very heavy story-driven narrative adventure. You will put on the shoes of the brilliant archaeologist, famed for his smarts, cunning, resourcefulness, and humor, and travel the world and race against enemies forced to discover the secrets of the mystery of the Great Circle. The game will release on December 9th for Windows, Xbox Series X and S, and will also be released for PS5 with a rumored release date around Q1 of next year. You can currently pre-order the game in one of two editions. The standard edition costs around $69, with the premium costing $99. If you pre-order the standard edition, you're going to receive the Last Crusade pack, which includes traveling suit outfit and lion tamer whip, as seen in the Last Crusade. And the premium edition comes with 3 days advanced access, so you can play earlier, the Order of the Giant story DLC, a digital art book, and the Temple of Doom outfit. Moving on to story and setting. Set between the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Last Crusade, you're going to put on Indy's shoes at or around middle age. Kind of like me, about 40. The story begins with Professor Indiana Jones being awakened by a break-in which results in the theft of a priceless relic. This sets off a thrilling chase to recover the artifact and unravel the mystery surrounding its theft. The story explores Indy and glimpses that we've only seen from the films. So before you go on this adventure, you're going to need to pick up those artifacts scattered around by finding historical clues like hieroglyphs. This lays on the foundation for environmental riddles to come as you progress more. So if you like heavy environmental interactions, environmental storytelling, and also puzzles, you're going to get it plenty with Indiana Jones. The game's narrative captures the spirit of Indiana Jones, so it's going to have history in it, it's going to have mythology, and a ton of cinematic action. Players will travel to iconic locations like the Vatican, where Indy sneaks through twisting corridors, and the bustling streets of Giza, teeming with life and mystery. Your main mission is to stop Amir Boss, Indy's rival archaeologist. He gets hand on these relics, they're going to be put to bad purposes. Moving on to characters. You're not going to be alone in this adventure. The game has a bunch of characters and sidekicks. In your adventure, you're going to meet Gina, an Italian journalist driven by her personal quest to find her missing sister. Amir Voss is the primary antagonist, so he's going to be an archaeologist with worldwide pursuits to find all of this mysterious relics and put them to bad usage. As Indy digs deeper into the mystery, it becomes evident the relic theft is just the tip of the iceberg. Fortunately, Indy and Gina are not alone in this fight. They find support of a global network of allies who provide critical assistance throughout their journey. So a pivotal moment in Giza is when Indy meets Dame, a local contact, while navigating humorous and heartfelt moments like his comical fear of snakes. So these interactions are kind of what you expect from cinematic type of games. A lot of cutscenes, a lot of interactions between various characters, and story building, more so than just overall combat and exploration and gameplay. Again, think heavy cinematics and story. Moving on to questing. And in the Great Circle, you have an immersive sim feel to it. So the game abandons traditional HUD elements like static map screens, opting for a hands-on approach where Indy physically holds and references his maps. The game's all about immersion. These maps are collectible, and finding one becomes a small puzzle in and of itself, further immersing you in the role of an archaeologist. As you observe and walk around inspecting Indy's notebook without pausing the game, it is apparent from the get-go that the setting is designed to, well, immerse you in the environment rather than just running you through a bunch of endless UI interfaces and menus. Questing in the Great Circle encourages exploration and creativity. The main storyline is also available, but the game rewards players who stray off the beaten path. In Giza, for instance, exploring side areas reveal hidden tombs, secret passages, and incidental treasures that often tie back into the main mission. The interconnection design ensures that no discovery feels wasted. An artifact might unlock a later skill while solving a side puzzle, which could provide lore-rich context for the main story. The level design is Souls-like, inviting players to revisit areas with new tools or knowledge, uncovering deep layers of the world. Or like one of my favorite games, Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Even following the main storyline introduce opportunity for discovery. Many of the items you stumble upon while exploring tie back to the missions given to you by other characters, creating a sense of interconnection in the world. The game encourages you to stray off the beaten path and simply explore hidden tombs, secret treasures. Every little corner feels like an environment of storytelling, which is what Bethesda is known for. It's what I love about Fallout 4 is every little inch of the world feels like you can find an aluminum can, some bullets, or some interesting story element, and this game is no different. However, it's not as open world as you would expect a Bethesda game to be, but it has enough exploration, side quest, and main quest story to keep you playing for a while. So if you like Souls-style backtracking and revisiting areas to collect missing stuff, you'll like this. Next up is something that I can't stand in video games, believe it or not, that's puzzles. So no Indiana Jones game would be complete without puzzles, and the Great Circle has plenty. Expect classic tropes like light beam puzzles, twisting statues to match drawings, and navigating dark passages with torches. With these puzzles faithfully following the Indiana Jones aesthetic, some may feel repetitive, especially the light beam mechanics, which appear multiple times in quick succession. However, traps like spike pits, sand traps, and environmental riddles will still capture the sense of ancient mystery. One standout feature is how the game ties puzzles into the world. Using Indy's camera, you can photo clues to get hints, extra lore, or even adventure points. This mechanic adds an investigative layer, making you feel like a true archaeologist. Me personally, I'm kind of a meathead and just want to shoot and punch things versus doing puzzles, so this is kind of a downside for me. Yes, I know, I have low IQ. Don't make fun of me in the comments. Moving on to stealth. Plays a pivotal role in Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, allowing players to embody Indy's cunning and resourcefulness. While Indy can hold his own in combat, the game encourages you to avoid direct confrontation. This focus on stealth aligns with the tone of Indiana Jones films, where wit and strategy often triumphs over brute force. So meatheads like me may have a hard time with this. The design philosophy behind stealth in The Great Circle prioritizes creative problem solving over straightforward Ramboing in eliminating enemies. Indy is not a bullet sponge, unlike many other action-adventure protagonists. Gunfights can be punishing, making stealth the safer and offer much more rewarding approach. Many areas present multiple pathways, allowing players to choose routes that emphasize stealth. For instance, players can use Indy's whip at the Vatican level to climb a high ledge and bypass guards entirely. Indy's stealth repertoire includes disguises, environmental interactions, and tools to evade or neutralize enemies. Indy can find and don disguises on some levels, blending in with enemies to explore restricted areas without drawing attention. While disguised, players need to avoid suspicious behavior, as guards can detect Indy if he strays too close or performs out-of-character action. Like Hitman, the game allows players to pick up and move unconscious or dead enemies to dark corners or behind obstacles. This will help avoiding alerting others, as patrols will pass by and detect something amiss. The levels have plenty of nooks and crannies and shadowed areas to facilitate all these stealthy playstyles. The game is just developed for you to sneak around. Players can use objects and environments such as bottles or crates to create noises and lure guards away, then just bolt beeline past them. The Vatican level, for example, showcases various ways to progress depending on your playstyle. Players can sneak past guards, use elevated routes, or solve puzzles to unlock alternative doors. So if I haven't made this point abundantly clear, this is not your typical action shoot 'em up Ramboing in. This is all about methodically and engaging in these encounters via stealth, problem solving, and puzzles. Some level features shortcuts or backtracking opportunities and unlockable gates, encouraging players to revisit areas with new tools or strategies. This kind of felt like Jedi Fallen Order for me. The enemies in the Great Circle are designed to challenge stealth-focused gameplay without feeling overly punishing. Guards follow a standard pattern of awareness from patrolling to investigating noises or disturbances, and their AI is somewhat lackluster and easy to deal with. If they spot you, they'll sound an alarm, escalating the encounter. Some of the guards are more perceptive than others, making it easy to avoid close proximity when disguised. In some scenarios, you can use the whip to silently disable enemies and disarm them without drawing attention. And the whip allows players to interact with the environment in ways to facilitate stealth, such as pulling down objects or create diversions or accessing hidden paths. The game borrows elements from stealth franchises like Hitman, ensuring a rich and flexible stealth experience. Players can tailor their approach, whether disguising themselves, sneaking through the shadows, or Ramboing in and getting caught. Levels are filled with all the usual suspects: collectibles, secret passages, and lore tied to stealth-based exploration, incentivizing players to think creatively. So while stealth is a major component, the game doesn't force you into a single play style. In many instances, stealth is ideal, but combat remains an option if players are discovered. However, the consequences of combat, such as alerting more enemies, make stealth a smarter choice. Let's talk about combat next. So the combat in the Great Circle is designed to feel grounded and improvisational, mirroring indie on-screen personas. So this isn't going to be your typical shoot 'em up bang bang. You have a lot of melee combat, seems like boxing in first person, and very little shooting. So while you're boxing and/or melee, punches land with this like exaggerated meaty sound effect. So harkening back to what I think is like the old school Batman game. Indie isn't built to tank damage. Taking a few hits or bullets can quickly lead to a game over screen, encouraging strategic play over reckless aggression. Speaking of that, healing is pretty punishing in the game, so you're not going to just randomly regenerate health. You have to get it through bandages. That's why the emphasis on stealth and not engaging in combat is so apparent. It's very hard to heal. And Indie's brawling style is a defined feature of this combat repertoire. The punchy animations and sound effects make every hit feel impactful. So it's not a martial arts ballad, but raw, visceral fighting like at a bar, if you've ever been in a bar fight. Players can string together punches and do kind of like this combo cinematic flow. And different foes are going to approach you in combat in different ways, whether they're larger, smaller, faster, shorter, and so on. And what makes the combat kind of interesting and different is it's all about the environment. So you can grab tons of objects laying around and/or weapons and just use them as blunt instruments to smash someone over the head or hurl something as an improvised weapon. So it's a lot of slapstick / humor and kind of bonking people over the head and punches. Now, melee brawling is your primary focus, but the Great Circle also has range combat. The game emphasizes restraint and strategic use of firearms. One thing you'll note is you can't aim down sights. So this isn't going to be like Call of Duty, aim down sights, perfect accuracy at 100 meters, bop bop. Andy carries a pistol, but ammunition is scarce, and the game advises players to use it very sparingly. And firing off the pistol will alert enemies, often drawing a bunch of meathead reinforcements and escalating the encounter and making it more chaotic and harder to solve. The pistol is effective in tight situations, but it has limited durability and makes prolonged shootouts pretty much impossible. The whip can flick weapons out of enemies' hands, disarming them and leaving them vulnerable to a good old melee brawl. So you're going to use a combination of punching, using the whip, and range combat in those situations that are a little bit more desperate. And the Great Circle embraces this cinematic flair of combat in Indiana Jones versus making it your focal point of a shooter per se. The game's going to limit your ammo. It's going to be really punishing to regenerate health, so you're just not going to be able to brute force through encounters. This may be a huge turnoff to players, or you might absolutely love it depending on your type of playstyle, what games you pick to play. So be aware of that. Stay away from this game if you don't want to stealth, because you're going to be having to do it. Moving on to progression. The core of Indie's progression is adventure point system, or the AP system, a mechanic that rewards players for exploring, solving puzzles, and interacting with the world. The system is multifaceted, meaning it offers a rewarding loop of gameplay that feels satisfying and in tune with the character's traits. So completing various environmental puzzles and tomb raiding challenges reward players with AP. These include solving anything from ancient mechanisms to deciphering secret codes. Andy's journey across different locations, such as Giza or the Vatican, involves uncovering rare and valuable artifacts. These items add to the immersion and give players, well, AP, helping them unlock new skills and abilities. Andy's camera is a unique addition to the game, which allows him to take pictures of important objects or events. Players are encouraged to photo key items, which adds exploration aspects, providing hints and rewards in the form of AP. Encouraging the people in the world, the Greater Circle, through side missions, conversation, gaining knowledge, and companion to help you generate AP. It's just not about killing things and completing quests that will make your character more powerful and progress. Something to keep into mind. Interacting with puzzles, the environment, and just progressing the story naturally and learning about the lore will make you more powerful and/or gain AP. So it's going to have a customizable personal approach to how you develop through the game. Skills range from combat improvements, such as gaining a quicker recovery after taking damage, to more subtle ones like enhanced sneak past enemies undetected. Many of the skills can be upgraded through a tiered system. So you can get a skill like Second Wind, which allows any to recover from near death, but an enhanced version improves its effectiveness as the game progresses. Depending on how players want to approach the game, they can choose to focus on combat or stealth abilities. These upgrades tailor Indy's playstyle and cater to both aggressive and tactical players, which I think you know which one I would be doing. And you also got adventure things you can pick up to progress, like upgrade books hidden throughout the world. These books, once found, allow players to enhance certain skills. Reminds me of the books you kind of find in Fallout 4 that give you permanent bonuses. So you're going to search for these books, encouraging players to explore basically every nook and cranny in the environment to get more powerful. The system ties back to that treasure hunting and exploration theme about rewarding curiosity, exploration, and just finding the unexpected thing. And these books further specialize how players upgrade their character, allowing various builds and playstyles. And as Indy progresses through the game's chapter and explores new environments, the game ramps up the difficulty in both combat and puzzles. So the progression is kind of meant to mirror you as a player journeying as a treasure hunter and adventurer. As you get more powerful and explore new locations, you're going to have greater challenges, but also greater rewards. Enemies and the AI are going to be smarter and stronger and be more varied in the game. You're also going to encounter new types of enemies, with armored soldiers or also advanced tactics. So you're going to be having to use this AP to set these challenges and make sure you have a build that fits your playstyle. And puzzles will specifically increase dramatically as the story advances, making it harder and harder to solve the puzzles. I think of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The very beginning shrines are going to be pretty easy, and as you advance to the more complex one, you're going to have to use everything you've learned previously to solve the most advanced ones. And as Indy's skills improve, so does the interaction with the world. So he begins to grow as a competent archaeologist, and everything is reflected in the dialogue and his ability to face more formidable challenges. So there is a little bit more to progression that meets the eye in a normal cinematic game. How deep is it? It's not going to be super complex build heavy, but it's enough to make you feel like you have agency over your character. Next up is tools and weapons. So a key part of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is how you interact with the world around you. You have an arsenal of tools, weapons, and all sorts of problem-solving things to handle exploration and enemies. So one is the whip, which we've talked about. It's Indy's signature tool, especially from the movies, and it's kind of the most defining aspect of probably the movie and the iconic franchise. So it's a multifaceted functioning tool that enhances both combat and exploration. It's going to allow you to disarm enemies, flicking pistols of weapons out of their hand, but it's just not for enemies. You can use this whip in the environment, like latching onto hooks or objects to swing across gaps or reach higher ledges. These moments shift the game into a third-person perspective for added cinematic flair. So yes, you're going to have these transitions from first to third person based on your exploration of what you're doing. Also, the whip can trigger different mechanics such as pulling levers, flipping switches, and just integrates into a natural problem-solving tool. You're going to have a pistol, kind of a last resort weapon, which we've already talked about. When stealth is impossible or you just got to take out somebody, you're going to be using your pistol. It's not going to be very accurate. It's going to feel foreign, and it's meant to be like a last resort with scarce ammo when the situation just says, there's just some heavy armored enemies, I gotta take them out. And number 3 is the camera. So it's a tool for exploration and lore. So you're gonna have this as part of your archaeology kit. It's gonna serve multi-purposes beyond just taking quick snapshots. It's gonna be used for the environment to get hints, solve puzzles. Remember, that's going to reward you with AP, so eventually making you more powerful. And then companions are going to comment on these photos, and they'll offer context, backstory, or maybe even little hints. So certain items or moments in the game are going to reward you with that AP for taking photos, incentivizing you to explore and just photo everything. And then lastly is going to be Indy's surroundings. As I've said before, the environment is just littered with random objects the game encourages you to explore and use in both combat and or just exploration gameplay. So pick up these random vases, bottles, rolling pins, fire poker, and see what they do with enemies, or just having a good time with slapstick humor. So who will love / hate Indiana Jones? Well, if you love the original movie trilogies, this game basically directly extends those films. I was more of a Star Wars guy and caught in between kind of Indiana Jones. So my childhood, I watched them, but they weren't something on repeat for myself. You'll also like this if you like humor, action, and puzzle solving. It's just a dream come true for those people that love stealth, puzzle solving, archaeology, hieroglyphics, a little bit of history, and these cool parts of the world that you may never be able to see in real life. And the game is really cinematic and immersive. So if you love that and you look for those those games that are single player heavy, story driven, rewarding on just exploration, taking your time and getting every little ounce of the game, you'll like it. For people that do not like these slow, deliberate, heavy cinematics, this may not be the game for you. In fact, you're probably going to want to avoid this if you're a meathead like me and just love Ramboing in, shooting everything, aim down sights, chucking grenades, and fast action combat, and have very little ability to solve puzzles without Googling it or pulling up a YouTube video like I do every single time. But hey, these games aren't for everybody, and I hope you got something out of this. If you did, hit that thumbs up, leave me a comment on what you found helpful, and hit that subscribe button if you like these type of videos. Thanks for watching.